Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. Today, it's a bit of a gloomy day, but we're going to have a good live stream today. We have a good topic, the ex that got away. Got a couple stories on deck, and it's going to be a good one. A little bit later than I anticipated at 11:30 start, but 3 days in a row. So I had someone that actually sent in their story that was read yesterday, and they wanted to do some follow-up stuff and said, hey, I added some stuff to it. Can you unpack it today? So we're going to get into that. The topic today, the ex that got away. And don't we all have an ex that we pondered on an occasion of loneliness, despair, desperation, or just that, man, that was the best one. That was the long-term relationship. That was the one that got away. That was my soulmate. Why didn't I see it then? Hindsight's 2020. Steve Jobs liked to say, you always connect the dots at the end. And it's true of so much, right? But when you get into the ex thing, ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend, ex-partner, whatever you want to call it, this happens a lot. For example, if you had, I'd say, 3 or 4 exes, 4 or 5 exes. Sounds weird to say it that way, doesn't it? Exes. You probably have one that you go, that was the one to get married to and have kids with. And one of the stories that I'm going to unpack today, that's basically what the guy's saying is, this is the one I would have got married to. And I understand where he's coming from. But again, who were you when you first started that relationship? That's what people lose track of. Who you are now and who you were when you started that relationship could be contributing to the fact of why you're not together anymore. So people don't realize how much we evolve over the years and really, really change our point of view, our priorities, our values. And this has never been more the case than in the 21st century, when we have so much information at our hands and so much promotion of do this, do that, do this. People are changing, they're evolving. And so who you were when you broke up years ago is probably not who you were when you broke up, if that makes sense. So just to get into the topic before we get into the story, the one that got away. Drop that music a little lower. The one that got away. Now let's think about that for a moment. First of all, it's the only one. It's the only one. Mountain Timer, I'll get to your story. No problem, bud. Let me get into this dynamic. YouTube's telling me you're not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. Well, I'll do my best right now. So let's just get into this topic really quick. And Chris the Critic, Mountain Timer, welcome. Enjoy your lunch in the Jeep. The one that got away. So I'll recap this later on. We got more on deck. But first of all, whenever you break up, if it was a significant relationship in your life, and it could have been 6 months to a year, but it was a significant relationship in your life where you loved someone, where you really cared about them. You put your heart on a clothesline, I like to say. Right? And it's going to bubble up. 8 years, 10 years, 15 years, no matter what, it's going to bubble up. And it's going to bubble up when you break up, or you're in a lonely time, or you're in a tough time, and you're going to go, wow, if I would have went with them. But here's where I'm gonna correct you. And if you have never looked at things this way, it's a game changer. So please listen. You'll never know what would have happened. Happiness was in no way a guarantee. You could have still broken up. And a lot of people don't think about that. Well, if I didn't break up then, right? If I didn't break up then, or we didn't break up, everything would have been rose petals and wine glasses. It would have been absolutely outstanding. And the truth is, you'll never know. You'll never know. And the truth is, it's quite possible that it could have went downhill from there. See, if you look at life, it's not so simple as if I would have made that one decision, it would have led to eternal bliss, and we would have been happily ever after. The reality is, most breakups have to happen. Most breakups happen for a reason, and that reason really doesn't pop up till you broke up. Okay? So this idea that if you would have stayed with someone, everything would have went right. If you would have made one move different, I know that feeling. I've been there a long time ago in a breakup. If I would have done this right, I'd have done that right. It doesn't matter. It's already you're already at ground zero, and that's okay. But this idea that if you would have stayed together, you would have been great together for eons, in most cases, is just not true. Now, let me just get a sound check and a video check. The people in the live stream, can you tell me how it's going? It's telling me that there's a poor connection right now. Is there a delay or... Let's see here. Yo, what's up, Skinner? So, going back to the topic, the one that got away, you'll never know what would have happened. And by the way, that can be applied to any regret you have in your life. Okay? So any regret you have in your life, oh, if I would have kept that job. I have one that comes up every once in a while, and I like to live my life with no regrets. And if I had to get one tattoo, it would say no regrets, because it's so important, right? Because life's happening for a reason for you. But real talk, when you have a regret, you don't know what domino would have fell next, right? I was a real estate agent for years. Now looking back 14, 15 years ago. If I would have stayed in that career, I sometimes think to myself, my mentor at the time, top agent in California, they made millions of dollars because the market's just crazy the last 5-8 years. And I would have hit my stride. But who knows what would have happened? Is it possible that I would have made a ton of money and then became a drug addict? Is it possible that I would have made a ton of money and then got in a car accident? Who knows? That's the thing that you think that if I would have stuck with this girlfriend, everything would have went right. That's not a given. That's some movie you watched. That's not a given. So here's what I'd like you to do. And so I don't know how many we got on deck now because the stream's coming in and out here. But these are really good questions to ask. And I'm going to maybe come back to these at the end of the live stream today. But who were you when you met this person? Because the one that got away is a special one, right? Let's say you have 3 or 4 exes in your past, 5 or 6 exes, 2 or 3. The one that got away, who were you when you met them? And why were they attracted to you? Think about that for a moment. Who were you when you met that person? And a lot of times you'll look back and go, oh, I had a lot going for me. I was going to the gym regularly. I had my money on point. There's a reason that person was there. Now, did you have multiple options before meeting them? This is a very good question, man or woman. People tend to be more attractive, surprise, surprise, when they have multiple options. Okay, so what do I mean by that? They have multiple options. It means that when they met the one, the soulmate, that they weren't overly invested because they had other options. And that makes you more attractive. It makes you less needy. How are you physically? What would you rate your attraction level out? Would you say you were a scale of 1 to 10? Were you at your best physical shape? Were you pretty good looking? Were you happy with yourself in the mirror? Not a shallow question to ask, an honest one, right? Where did you meet this woman or man or partner? What were your mutual interests? A really good question. Are you still in that atmosphere to meet someone like that again? Good question to ask, right? Why aren't you capable of meeting someone equal or higher value now? What's the hiccup? Age? You're too old? You're too fat? Your location doesn't have a lot of people in it? Money's low? When you start to look at these things, you're like, so am I in the same situation that I met the one, the soulmate, as I am now? Interesting thing to ponder, right? Do you think you got lucky in meeting this person or having a relationship with them? Do you think that this one just fell out of the sky, everything went right? How'd you end up with them? I don't believe in luck in relationships. And if you believe in it, good luck. Why did the relationship end? Was it your fault? Your maturity, timing and circumstances, difference in values? These are all things to ponder if you got the one that got away. But I just really want you to think about that. Even if the one that got away stayed with you, was happiness guaranteed? Was a marriage with kids, a picket fence, 2 BMWs, right? Was that promised? I don't think so. So we got, it says we got 3 on deck. Some things have been going on in the stream on the back end here. Has anyone felt that's on the stream right now, or if you want to put it in the comments if you watch this later on, have you ever felt that you have an ex that got away, that was the one that you could have had a long-term relationship, that you could have maybe got married to, or bubbles up on you years in, years out? Does anyone have that? All right. I'm going to get into Mountain Timer's story here, if you're still on deck. So, now this was a story that was unpacked yesterday. We used some different names. Definitely, Jen got away. The name you used yesterday. So this applies to you, right? Okay, so this is good. I'm not telling you to, fight the idea that one got away, but let's just look at it a bit differently, right? For you to realize that someone was special enough to get away, you probably had to have the breakup first, right? Hindsight is 2020. Okay, so let's get into your stuff here. Let's just get into it, my friend. I had a good relationship with Jen and her parents. They both liked me, my kids. They even invited us to the parents' hometown for Christmas. And this is, by the way, this is very common in a breakup. Someone goes, well, the parents really liked me. Okay, that's a plus. But when you're at ground zero in a breakup, the parents, in most cases, 80 to 90% of the time, even if they really like you, and I have a client right now, his ex is in a foreign country. And the mom's texting him every day, right? And the mom likes him. I said, you're a good catch, man. You're someone a mom would like. Now, that doesn't mean your ex is going to be more into getting back together. In some cases, the fact that the parents are pushing for you isn't always a good thing. That's solid that you had a good relationship with the parents, and that's great, and that's going to maybe help you down the road. But do not, and you didn't mention this in the thing, well, you mentioned it yesterday, do not go to the family and pitch a case. I highly recommend you don't do that, because if you're almost better off pitching a case to your ex and being the traveling salesman. But going to their family members can really repel you away. So the fact that they like you, Jen has not always had the best relationship with her family, sometimes not talking to them for years. Her parents did not approve of her past relationship. So this is actually a really big one. So the way people operate with their family members and their close friends, okay? And this is something to be very cognizant of when you're dating. You're next. So if they have an aptitude of cutting people off or never talking to them again, if there's a situation where they feel like they're cornered or they need to make a stand, if in the past the way they do that is cut you off or never talk to you again, and they've done it with friends, family members, or close colleagues, then there's probably a good chance that that's what they'll do with you if something's surprise up. People run the same playbooks, okay? When Jen first left, after she ghosted me and my family, I overreacted and unfriended her family and all of her friends from Facebook. I did not block them. I did not block them. I also did very soon after the breakup, when I was trying to see if she was okay, send her a text saying, I can't believe you would just leave us with no explanation. I was really upset at this point that she would just ghost me and not at least tell me her well-being. She did not respond to this text. Like I said, hearing from women on the other end of breakups, a lot of times women feel like they've been hinting to you for a long time. They don't like to give you directions, spell it out. And I'll be honest with you. A lot of times, until shit hits the fan, you really break up, it doesn't get real. Okay? It doesn't get real. Right? The consequence isn't really there. You don't believe they're really going to break up with you because you're a little overweight or you haven't taken the garbage out. You don't believe that it's that bad, right? And then when it happens, that's when you go, oh my God, why did you do this to me? And they'll, on the other end of this, Jen, who's the woman in this, who I don't know her case and I don't do couples therapy in any way, but I'm sure she has a whole other side of the story that she's hinted to you or she's told you before what she's upset about. And now you're going, I don't understand why you left. She told you some things which weren't worked on, but during the relationship, you probably just kind of put them to the side or thought you band-aided it. From what you told me yesterday, she was upset that you didn't let her parent your kids. Now, you might say, I don't think that's true, but if we probably were in a live coaching session, we really dissected it, there's probably moments where she made a stand about that and you kind of pushed it to the side. That's a big one. That's a big one. You told me that she did give you some reasons. I want to do a live session with you, but with Christmas, I'm going to be busy during the day and work, and also funds are tight right now, so that's fine. No problem. I understand. I was wondering if I could work out a payment plan. Okay. I didn't see this part because I haven't read this fully. Work out a payment plan with you because I would like to talk to you before the holidays if you have time. Yes, we can work out a payment plan, absolutely. And as I said before, if you do a live coaching session and you've turned in your story like you have here and paid the $25, and the $25 goes towards your live coaching session, so you're not piling up I'm pretty emotional still and all this, and it's good to know that you think there's a 50-50 chance. But yes, she is very stubborn in her ways, and you're right. This is going to take some time. So just to recap yesterday on that story, like I said, people know their exes better than I do. But stubbornness is a personality trait, right? Not everyone's stubborn. Would you agree? There's some people that you'd go, oh no, my mom or my sister or my friend, they're not a stubborn person. But some people you go, oh no, they're stubborn when they make a point or they get into something. Stubborn people in breakups, you're not going to convince them. You're actually going to repel them even more because that's part of their character. And like I said yesterday, when someone says, I'm done, that's them making a declaration statement. And you need to back off. There is still a chance a stubborn person can come around, but they don't get talked into it. And so, like I said, not every ex is stubborn. But when I ask that and they say, oh no, you said she's very stubborn in her ways. And then she's also cut off family members in the past when she's been upset with them. I don't know what that's about. And so that's one of those things that's been developed in deep relationships. And when I deal with people now that could just be a potential collaboration with work or someone that I'm going to have to deal with as a friend, when they tell me that they've cut off family members or they've cut off a friend because they did this and this to them, my ears perk up a little bit and I go, okay. Well, you just got to be ready if your relationship gets deeper with that person in any way, that if you don't line up with them, that they'll cut you off because you're next. Okay. I was thinking about this, Mac, waiting for my next job to come in. Jen and Jen had never had her own kids, and also I told you she went through a hysterectomy during our relationship. I know that was really hard on her, especially towards the end of the relationship, having this single mindset. What I mean by that is she was really flaky, and I hate to put it like that, when it came to responsibilities involving the family and my kids. All right, well, that's something you didn't mention that's a complaint on your end. We'd have to unpack that in a live coaching session, but flaky's a strong word for an adult that's in her late 30s, early 40s. I forgot what the age range was. She would forget family events or show up very late, not clean up after herself or do her own laundry or even forget to pick up the kids after committing to doing so. Okay, so these are big things, man. These are big things that you left out in the first. These are things that we would unpack and get a little more detailed. Now it's becoming like, maybe she's not the one. She would bring up her past relationships during our discussion, stating her ex-husband will always call her out on these things and would get upset if she left a cup in the sink. Also stating, I'm sorry, I do these things on my time schedule, not yours. I mean, it's one of those things. You live with it or you don't. People in their late 30s, early 40s, if they're messy and not neat, it's really hard to get them on deck with that. If you accepted it for a long period of time, okay? If you accepted it for a long period of time, you can't go in and out of going, oh, can you do your laundry? Oh, can you do that? This is something that's in her character, that's built in. This is who she is. Can you live with that? Is it affecting your life? Right? Me personally, when I've been in a couple of been in all my relationships, I haven't done the laundry. Right? So, I mean, these are things that could really eat at you if you were together for a long period of time. Also, when you say the ex-husband was always calling her out on these things, it could be one of those things that she did even worse just to spite him. So it sounds like, if you were ever to get back together, some of these other things, she might need some sort of therapy or coaching herself. Jen also used to tell me that she always felt that she could never do anything right, and that I made her feel that way. Okay, so that's a big one. That's one of those things that's indebted in her. That's deep-seated. That's something to do with her parents or her past ex. And let me give you a big news flash. That would affect your relationship. Anyone that feels like they can't do anything right has a fall guy. And newsflash, I don't think you made her feel that way. That's a core belief that she could actually work on with hypnotherapy, with a variety of other different modalities. But it's certainly not your fault. I honestly wasn't going over the top in my opinion, but this would come to a head eventually because these things would bother me, and attempting to talk to her would usually end up her running from the situation, going into another room or watching TV or leaving the house, going out with friends. So there you go. So when you'd bring up something that was an adult conversation about an adult relationship, she didn't want to have it. And that's immature, right? That's how a teenager would negotiate. And so maybe this relationship wasn't as good as you thought. And this is what happens when you break up. The loneliness eats through what you didn't like about the person. You kind of forget, like, oh, that they were great. We were wonderful together. Was that the beginning of the relationship? Or was that the whole relationship? Because I'm going to guess if you were together 6 years, I believe you told me, 5 or 6 years, that the first 2 years were rose petals and wine glasses, excellent, outstanding, and great. In the last year and a half, 2 years, which COVID hurt a little bit because you had some job issues, that these things started to bubble up. Guess what? You got to know the real Jen. And it sounds like she's unreasonable. She doesn't like to face her problems. And she's a bit messy. Are those things fixable? Does she see them as problems herself? And if you were to get back together, which I'm not saying, would you be able to deal with that lifetime? This is someone you're going to get married to. Can you overlook that? Like the messiness thing, get a maid. Or a cleaning lady once or twice a week. All right, done. Right? The running away from issues. Okay, he says, I apologize for the multiple emails. No problem. All right, let's take a look here. So we got 6 on deck. Yeah, breakups like that are usually started months in advances. Classic ghosting. Well, like I said, talking to women on the other end, he didn't do this, he didn't do that, I didn't like this. Did you tell him? No. But he knew because I said this, and it's usually a hint. It's a hint. And it's a repeated hint. And for the man, it just goes over his head because there's nothing extreme about it. But that being said, you've shown another side of the coin here, that this relationship wasn't great on your end all the time either. So why don't you be fair and honor yourself a little bit here, that maybe in this time, in this breakup right now, which you missed the hell out of her and you'd do anything to get her back, maybe you need some time to process what you're willing to negotiate. Right? Maybe you need some more time to really think about, I didn't do everything wrong. This isn't all my fault. Why am I saying sorry for everything? Is this how good relationships are supposed to go? Is this how I'd want to deal with someone I'm thinking about getting married to, that they just she just flew the coop? But here's the thing, and this especially applies to people as they get older, right? Well, not everyone, because not everyone has one, but my grandparents are all gone, rest their souls. But they're set in their ways, right? One of the cool things about talking to people in their 70s, my father's in his 70s, they just don't give a shit anymore. They don't give a shit what people think. They live life like that, right? Because they got to a point, they're set in their ways, they know who they are, right? And my point is, if this woman's late 30s, early 40s, these things you just identified about, I don't know, running away from problems, not trying to figure them out, being stubborn, being messy, those things probably aren't going to get switched up unless she goes, you know what, I really want to change things here. I don't want to do this anymore. I'm thinking about getting a therapist or a coach. I'm thinking about doing some hypnotherapy. Then it's possible. Or a crisis happens, like a breakup. And I'm going to tell you right now, I have a feeling right now she misses you a lot too. But a stubborn person will never show their cards. Right? It sounds like you're a pretty good boyfriend. We'll unpack that further when we do a live coaching session. All right, I do have one more story to unpack here. And it's pertinent to the topic of the ex that got away. It's a pretty interesting story, actually, because it's not recent. And please put it in the live stream, like I said, if you've had an ex in the past or just someone you dated that you think to yourself, that's the one that got away, right? That's the one that if I would have stayed with them, we would have had something. Man. And you know what it comes down to a majority of the time? Timing and circumstances. You were at a place in your life where you couldn't have that relationship. You weren't mature enough. You weren't in the same playing field. You didn't have enough money, whatever. Shit happened. Life happened. And you thought to yourself, now you're looking back and you're like, I could receive that person. I would be so good with them. Really? All right, let's get into this other part. Dorothy Scott. I don't know what the hell that means. Vask Tech. I think someone else did that. Is this kind of, Drea or Drea? Drea, you're fine. You're fine too. Brand new Skinner. Yo. Mountain Timer, let me know if you have any more questions. Justin Brown, always a pleasure. Chris the Critic, New York's finest, I believe. Or New Jersey, New York, I believe. All right, folks, next story happening now. Let's get into it. If you have a story you want to share, turn it into writemac.com, WRITEMAC.com. I'll unpack it in a live stream like this. Otherwise, let's do a live coaching session. Talk for an hour or 2 hours and fully unpack your breakup. Really get into it and get you some clarity moving forward. All right, it says, Coach Mac, I want to tell my story about a breakup that's been biting at my heels for years. It happened about 8 years ago. This one might be long, but I paid my $25 and you said be detailed. Absolutely. I broke up with my first serious girlfriend about 12 years ago. We were together 5 years. Okay, I got to get these numbers right. I broke up with my first serious girlfriend about 12 years ago. We were together 5 years. And I was 27 when we broke up. So you got together at 22. Got it. It was honestly a breakup, and you probably are about 39 right now. It was honestly a breakup I saw coming. She was getting texts from guys at work. She was going out with friends a lot, and the list goes on. That being said, we were close, completely in love, and had a fantastic relationship. Well, that's a reflection of you. Good for you. Pat on the back. That breakup broke my heart. Well, 5 years is a good run for a fantastic relationship. I'm sure it did. And I didn't see that part coming. I didn't anticipate the hurt I endured. So it took me about a year to recover. I never tried to get her back. I didn't beg or plead. I just let time and perseverance help me heal. Well, that sounds good. Sounds like you're a strong person. Then I met another woman, and she was gorgeous, naturally beautiful. Isn't that a different term, naturally beautiful? I like that. It was the first woman I had seen since my ex that I was immediately drawn to. She was sharing a class as I was taking higher education for my field. And I showed a bit of interest one lunchtime, and she basically shut me down and showed no interest. So I backed off completely and I let it go. Good approach. If you're pursuing someone and they just shut you down, don't keep trying. Although some people out there would say, oh, I like when someone chases me. Do you want the person that wants you to chase? I've had my heart broken in the last relationship, but I'm no chaser. I'm not a needy guy. Then she started showing interest, and we soon started dating. It was a good thing from the beginning. We just clicked. Our first few dates, we hung out for 4 to 5 hours, and it was like we had been together for a long time. Well, this is how it should be. She was coming out of a tough relationship where she had a bad breakup too. We kind of had a common ground to roll with. The guy was completely out of the picture, so that was good too. So for the next year, it was great. And she was better than my ex in so many ways. And so this is the really cool thing. If you break up right, if you heal right, if you deal with the grief right, and like 5 years of an incredible relationship might take a year. You know, someone's like, well, I don't want to go through that. I remember my bad breakup. It took a little under a year, but when you come out of it, it's a lot better. If you try to not do that and not go through your grief, it's going to bubble up later on. So I commend you on this one. It's going to take a little while. The guy was completely out of the picture too. So the next year it was great. And she was better than my ex in so many ways. And then she even talked of marriage, which at the time I laughed off and just wasn't ready. I never took getting married that serious. Well, welcome to the club. Especially at 30 years old. Well, there's some groups, if you read The Rational Male, you shouldn't be thinking about marriage at 30 years old. So there's a lot of people that would back you up on that. That's your prerogative. But if you're not ready for marriage, don't force it. If you're not ready for kids, don't force it. That should be something you want. At the time, it didn't dawn on me that she was serious. And you know what rightfully so. And you know what? Rightfully so is what he writes. So she was right to want that. She was about 5 years younger than me. She had only been with 2 other men. She was ready to commit. These were her values. Well, it's easy to see that now, right? Due to the circumstances, I had to move. So we did long distance, which was a disaster. We broke up within a month of it. We just couldn't get it right, and I never really attempted to bring her with me. Not sure what I was thinking. Well, hindsight's 2020. Probably. I mean, there's a variety of reasons why you don't bring someone with you when it's long distance. See, this is your classic case of, and this is why I titled this "The One That Got Away." You're looking at it like you can see things so clearly now. But let me ask you this: were you a different person then, with different values? That's something you can't go back and change. You're saying from your perspective now, from your eagle's perch now, oh, I can see everything so clearly, I fucked up. The individual that was in that playing field that you say is 30 years old that didn't want to get married and laughed about marriage is not who you are now. So it's apples to oranges. And by the way, if you married this woman, had kids, did everything right, she could have still left you for another guy. There's a variety of things that could have transpired that you'll never know. And you're just assuming that it would have been a fairy tale. Attempted to bring her with me. Then I moved back to where we met, and we soon got back together. It was great, but I would move again. This time not so far, but it was a 2-hour plane ride to see her, which I made about once a month for a year. So, I mean, that's great. And I always say for a long-distance relationship, you should see each other at least once a month. But if you were doing it for a year, where was the finish line? Right? When were you going to start living in the same city? That gets old. All the while, I was cheating on her and lying about it. I validated by the fact that she once told me that just don't let me catch you. I felt like that meant just don't let me find out. And a good friend had told me, if you do cheat, never tell them. They don't want to know. Well, there might be some truth to that for some individuals. I have heard women say, I can't believe this guy got caught, or it would have been okay if I just didn't know. The fact is, what are your morals and values? Did she know that, did she assume you were monogamous? Now you're looking back at, you were a jerk. So eventually I'd meet someone living in my city and started seeing her regularly, and she was great too. I was also continuing my long distance relationship while the new lady knew this and accepted it. This carried on for 6 months till my long distance girlfriend finally broke up with me out of my neglect to call her. She knew I was pulling away, and she pulled the plug. She was a proud woman. I accepted the breakup and made the woman in my city my new girlfriend. There was little hurt as the long distance girlfriend was special to me, but the new girlfriend was fun and great too. We ended up staying together for 6 years and ended up breaking up for a variety of reasons. But now, a year later, I'm single. I'm 42 and I'm wondering, damn, I wish I would have married that woman. Well, I mean, you could have easily married that woman. I'm following correctly. The woman that you were with before this recent 6-year one. You could have easily married that woman and things could have went wrong and you could have been regretting the one that you passed up on that was in your city that you said was great also. It was so clear she was a wife and a mother of my kids' material. We'd be running a family right now and she would have been a good wife. Well, that's a good story to tell, but that's not absolutely true. That's just something you're assuming. This pops up every once in a while. Then I tell myself, just let it go. Well, it's popping up because you're broken up right now, right? You're single. I did contact her after my most recent breakup, and she told me she had a kid and was married. And of course, asked if I was married or had kids. Nope, I said. The conversation via text went nowhere and made me feel worse. Well, that's what happens. You when you break up, sometimes you reach out to exes and you want to feel her, and it doesn't go as planned. It doesn't make you feel too well. Now I'm wondering, did I really mess up here? How do you deal with regret of an ex that lingers for years and years? The one that got away. And so this is why I titled this. And when I started this, episode today, or whatever you want to call it, I started talking about how you'd go about that. I'm going to revisit that now. Triple X Legend. Wow, what a great name. What does Triple X stand for? Mountain Timer. Thanks, Mac, for the advice. Much appreciated. It's hard for me to believe she actually misses me. This is hard for her given the way the breakup happened and the cold response and no contact. Also, I wanted to send her brother's family a Christmas card like I always do to be nice, but took your advice and didn't. When you reach out to family members, just know your expectations and know what you're really trying to get from it, okay? Right now you're really sensitive. And so if that brother, if the brother you can send him a Christmas card, but it has to be a happy Christmas or a Merry Christmas for the brother. Okay? If you send that out and then you follow up with, "Hey, how you doing?" and then you ask about your ex, don't do that. Just in my experience, doing covert operations, checking up on your ex through family members or friends, no bueno. Because a lot of times, I'd say 80-90% of the time, and that's just a figure out of my head, they tell the person, and their information is biased. And they're going to take their relative's side most of the time. It's just not a good way to go. And then they give you one bit of information, you ask another question, they ask another question. If they eventually go back to your ex and tell them, your ex is not going to be happy that you're talking behind their back. Okay? So that's just a bad look overall. It's just not good. It doesn't end well. Right now, you're in a tough position, and here's the thing, it's counterintuitive to do nothing. No contact is like, I'm not doing anything. I got to do something. I got to work hard. And hard workers have trouble with this. I got to do something. It's like no contact is doing something. That's why it's difficult. Yeah, there you go. There you go. And by the way, right now, this grief you have, it's like this other story that I just read. The guy said it took him a year. That doesn't sound like fun, right? I remember in a bad breakup I had, I was like, wow, how long is this going to last? But if you're really dealing with it and it was a long relationship and you were in love, like you were 6 years, it's going to take a little bit of time, but take it day by day. You had said yesterday you've been working out, you're improving yourself. So you're dealing with the crisis of breaking up, not in a way that you're sitting at home on the couch ordering pizza and getting a six-pack and dwelling on it. You're working your ass off. You're getting in a better place. You're improving yourself. Okay. Well, then It's serving you right now, right? This is going to be a process. It's going to take a little bit of time. I'm going to help you through it. So just going back to what I said earlier, people say this, but seriously, it's hard for me to believe that this is affecting her. Trust me, it is. Okay, so let's say, okay, so she walks out. She says she's done after 6 years. She stops talking to you. She goes to go back and be with her family. And you think she feels nothing. She might not show anything, but that doesn't mean she doesn't feel anything. Right? The exterior body language, words, don't always tell people what people are feeling inside. And people, if she's experienced with breaking up before, she had an ex-husband, she's following a playbook right now. Right? She's following a playbook right now. So what she did with her ex or what she's done with family members before, that doesn't mean she doesn't feel something. Doesn't mean she doesn't miss you. And that's going to be even more true if you stay in no contact, because it'll surprise her. It'll surprise her. And it's so funny because there's another client of mine that has this very, very similar story to yours. I almost thought about hooking you two guys up as breakup friends. And his thing transpired. They're back together now a year later. But from what you told me, there's some kind of trauma in your ex's background, and the hysterectomy is a big deal. The hysterectomy is it's a big deal for a woman. She's not going to be able to have kids now. That's a big surgery. And that's in no place your fault. And there's no training. When someone goes, oh, this is how you deal with a girlfriend or going through something like this. So nothing you did wrong, I don't think. That being said, it definitely affected feelings. 2455, rock star. Hey, Mac, been a while. Are you back in the States permanently? For at least 6 months, probably. I'm doing a hypnotherapy course right now, certification. That's going to be pretty lengthy, so it's better to be in the States to do that. Otherwise, I had to get up in the middle of the night in Thailand. It's good to get back to meet the parents again. Haven't seen my parents in a couple years, so get back into American culture. Totally different. California's different, but good so far. So today, the ex that got away, this is something I mentioned earlier when not so many viewers were on, because usually when I first come on, there was 2 or 3 people. So I'm going to recap this and go back through this a little bit. Hold on a sec. So let's just recap this. The one that got away, you'll never know what would have happened, but happiness was in no way a guarantee. You could still have broken up. So like I said, even though you think, oh, if I would have done this, this, and this, then everything would have went right. If I would have done this, this, and this, we would have stayed together for the next 25 years and it would have been rose petals and wine glasses. The breakup had to happen for you to see its value. The breakup had to happen for you to see your value. The breakup had to happen for you to figure out your holes in your armor, for you to figure out what you need to work on. Okay? And the person that you were when you broke up isn't the person you're going to be 5 years, 10 years down the road if you're evolving correctly as a human being. How many of us, right? And I think it's, hold on a sec here. Mountain Timer, who's on here in his 40s, right? And just look at it like this. If you're 40 years old, or I think you're 45, how much different are you than you were when you were 40? Like, everyone take a look. How much different are you from 5 years ago? When someone says, oh, I haven't changed much. Okay, is that a good thing? Right? But you've probably changed perspectives. You've changed the information you know. You've read a few more books. Or you watched a few more movies that have affected you. All the intel, all the content that you're taking in every year, every minute, every day is affecting your character, who you are, what you do. And so when you look back at certain situations, you go, oh, how did I miss that? Because you weren't the person you are now looking back at it. Does that make sense? And these are the questions to ask. The one that got away, who were you when you met that person? Why were they attracted to you? Did you have multiple options before meeting that person? Were you in a place where you were attractive and you had other things going on? Because to me, whenever I've met a really good girlfriend, that wasn't the only person I was talking to when I first started, because I had other options. How were you physically? What would you rate your attraction level at? What is it now? That's a deep question. Well, I've gained a few pounds. Okay. I'm not judging you. Are you happy with that? Does that affect who you would attract in the future? Is that something you actually have a little bit of control over? Where did you meet this woman or man at? What were the mutual interests? This is a big one. Are you in the same arenas that you were when you met someone of this caliber? Why aren't you capable of meeting someone equal or higher value now? What's the hiccup? Age, weight, location, money? These are real things. So when you met the one that got away, were you on deck with your age, your weight, your location, your money? And someone might say, what do you mean by location? I'm talking about environment. Is your environment choosing you, or are you choosing your environments to be in? Big fucking question. Do you think you got lucky in meeting this person or having a relationship with them? That would be in your head that they just fell out of the sky. It was magic. I just got lucky. No, you put yourself in that position. Why did the relationship end? Your fault? Timing and circumstances? Difference in values? So when you look about that one that got away, was it really your fault? I just turned 43 last month, and I'm much different than I was when I turned 40. There you go. I look back when I first started this channel. I'm much different. How could I be the same after talking to so many people from around the world about breakups? Right? I'm taking this certification course in hypnotherapy. It's changing me with the class, because the knowledge I'm gaining from it is so interesting and so useful. Okay, folks, it's been good. Does anyone have any closing questions here to open up? We've got 12 on deck, 2 likes. I appreciate it. Anyone that wants to make a donation, it's welcome. It's fully open to questions about your relationship or whatever. But like I said, I think I have about 10 minutes here. I got a live coaching session at 1. It's kind of funny when you think about movies and how they treat the narrative of the ex that got away, or how they treat the narrative of you running into an ex. The movie usually shows the ex coming back, or you running into him by chance, or them calling you at the right time. It doesn't really show what really is. Do you have one that got away? No, I wouldn't say that. But I do have a clutch welcome. Good question. I do reminisce about exes, though. And it does come to my mind that which ex would have been best for me now, right? So that does come up, but I don't dwell on it. And it definitely doesn't eat at me or affect me long term. And that might be because of what I do now and explaining these kinds of things. Clutch, I'll throw it back at you. We'll play a little game of tennis. Do you have one that got away? And like I said, I think it applies to if you feel that way, that you're just looking at, well, this would have been the best ex for me at this point in my life, right? And at that point in my life, when I broke up with whoever that was that suddenly feels like they would have been good for me now, it becomes the one that got away. The other alternative to that is someone that is in a place where they feel like they really aren't attracting a lot of women or men, if it's, vice versa. That's when they tend to reminisce and go, well, that's the one I could have kept, but they're not looking in the mirror and saying, well, I'm not the same catch either. Movies have a falls never, the ex got away. I wonder if Jen is going to talk about me with her family over the holidays. Well, you're on good terms with the family, but we really need to get that live coaching session because you got a lot of stuff to dig through there. Movies give false hope that the ex comes back. Oh, movies are the worst in that case. There's that Netflix series, You. I think it was from a couple years ago, which was an interesting series about basically a killer, a psychopath, but was very good with women. But what got me about it is it's fine. The narrative was that he was good with charming women, and but he would literally meet a new attractive woman within days of breaking up with someone, and that's just not true. Like his neighbor became his girlfriend. The girl that he had a crush on that he met in the bookstore became his girlfriend. It's not that simple. He basically got anyone he liked. Movies get false hope. Yes. The question of if I knew what I know now, would things be different? Doesn't last long. Right? So I think that's how it applies, is that you go, oh, right now, where I'm at in life, it would have been nice if I stayed with this individual. That being said, who knows what would happen? And then I'm turning in all the good times and good moments in between that time. Because look how many people are married with, quote unquote, their soulmate. Or, at the time, someone that they were so happy to spend the rest of their life with. And now, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years into a marriage, they're miserable. I've seen that plenty of times. I've seen it where I've witnessed the guy is literally asking for permission on if he's going to hang out with his buddies on Friday night. And it's just like, well, that's what it is when you get married. And I'm like, what? Is that something that you expected from your, soulmate or your wife? I feel like it may be critical turning point, and the outcome scares me a bit. Will people do this? I know where you're at right now, Mountain Timer. What a great name. You feel like if you don't do something, if you don't make a move, that you're going to lose them forever. And in your particular case, from what you've told me in your story, and once we do a live coaching session, we'll get deeper. Staying in no contact for now, you've already stated your case. You've already apologized for what you need to apologize. And that's another big one. What you don't realize you're doing is you run out of material. Well, I'm doing really well right now. I'm going to the gym. I'm doing this. Okay, don't say that again. Right? I mean, that becomes needy. Or, I'm really sorry for what happened or what I did wrong. Don't say it. Sorry holds one time. Saying sorry repeatedly is needy. Saying sorry repeatedly does not make the sorry stronger. It makes it weaker. It makes it seem like you're saying sorry to get a reaction or to get something from it. Because if you think about when you apologize to someone, first of all, you should apologize for what you're really wrong for. And a lot of times, especially men, tend to apologize in relationships just to, I just don't want to argue about this. I I just don't want to argue about this. So I just apologize. And I get that. I've been in moments where I'm just like, this is a petty thing to argue about. I don't care. I don't tend to apologize easily personally for stuff I'm not sorry for. But when you do apologize, and I'm fully capable of apologizing for something I did wrong, that's one of the things that comes with maturity, right? Then I'll say, I'm sorry. And I'll say what I'm exactly sorry for, and then I'll leave it alone. And if I'm really sorry, I use the word I apologize. Different weight, right? I just want to say I apologize for talking to you like that. I was in a bad mood, and I didn't mean it that way. If they come back at you and start, I call it basically, you apologized, and then they want to get you on the ground and kick you around and throw it in your face 10 more times. I'm not up for that. I apologize. That's the best I can do in most cases. And I was responsible for what I did or what I said. If you want more than that, well, then you weren't looking for an apology. You were looking to berate me, right? And that's not something I'm up for. Now, if you say, I just don't want to talk to you right now or something, fine. Apologies hold the most weight with eye contact and exactly what you're apologizing for. And don't apologize for the same thing again and again. And you don't need to over-explain it. Asking permission, bad move. Oh, I see it so much. Star Wars, fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. Actually, I never watched Star Wars. Clutch is going to go, what? I'm not a big Star Wars fan, but I do like that quote. I mean, when I was a kid, I've seen it off and on, and I think I saw one of the most recent ones a few years back. It's just not my thing. Not big science fiction fan. I'm a big nonfiction fan, documentaries, true stories. That's what I like. If you're into Star Wars, go for you. But that fear leads to anger. Anger leads to hate. Hate leads to suffering. Luke, I am your father. Domino effect. If where you are fits an X, your life wouldn't be where it is now. Yeah. Well, that's a good point. University Pipe. Hope you're doing well. Looking back, the breakups or the exes that you had, who would you be without those breakups? Like I said, the story that I just read, the guy said the ex that he thinks about now, he actually had someone lined up behind them that lasted 6 years and was a great relationship. But now he's thinking, well, that other one would have been better for marriage and kids. But when you were 30 years old, you were laughing at marriage and kids. And I can relate to that. So you're going to, go back in time to that 30-year-old and go, when you're in your 40s, you're going to regret this. Because guess what? Maybe 10 years later, you go, oh, I wish I would have played the field a little bit longer. Right? IRL. Anxiety leads to suffering. Suffering leads to reflection. Reflection leads to acceptance. Acceptance leads to growth. Okay. But where's the anxiety come from? What's the root of the anxiety? Interesting. Very few people can authentically apologize correctly. Well, the question becomes, the person apologizing, do you believe them? Mary Ellie, shouldn't apology be backed up with changed behavior? Good question, Mary. I believe someone can apologize without proving that their behavior has changed. So they can mean that they're sorry in a moment, right? Now, if you're in a relationship with an individual and you're like, I don't believe that you're sorry because you keep doing the same thing over and over again, I don't know if that person knows that. Depends on the behavior, right? But they can definitely be sorry in a moment and then do the same thing again because of their addiction or their habits. And then it's your job to decide whether that's sincere or not. But someone apologizing, you accepting the apology, and then your belief that they're going to do it again, does that take away from them being sorry in that moment? I think that made me realize I didn't apologize to her. That is good. I didn't do her wrong. You never want to apologize for something you don't feel like you did wrong. A lot of people do this. It's not needed. It's actually not respected. It's like someone breaks up and they go, well, you don't need to apologize for that. What I'd add to Mary's point, if someone apologizes and you know their behavior is not going to change, you can still accept their apology. But what you have to ask yourself is, what behavior am I willing to accept? Because people build a case for whatever they do, right? They're going to build a case. If it's something they really like to do, or they validated it somehow. And so you have to decide, if this happens again, sorry is not enough. You're not telling me sorry for what you did. You're telling me sorry for what you did, but you're also telling me, well, this is who you are because you've said sorry for this 10 different times. And here's a little truth bit here for you, Mary. Until there's a consequence, until there's a real consequence to someone's behavior, most of the time, they're not going to change. Because whatever behavior that they're doing is learned and it somehow serves them in some way. Right? Deep Poetic Society. Not to be confused with Dead Poet Society with Robin Williams. My ex has gone back to a toxic ex of 3 years and cheated on her. And cheated on her twice. What can I do after being needy and begging? Well, send your story into writemag.com and I'll give you my full take on the live stream tomorrow. Or if you want to book a live coaching session, we can do that. Not a lot of details to this, but let me see if I can strain out an answer here. Let me read this one more time. My ex has gone back to a toxic ex of 3 years and cheated on her twice. So, Deep Poet Society, can I just call you DPS? Hope that doesn't stand for something bad. What do you want? To me, if your ex is with someone else, whether they cheated on them or not, they're out of your playing field, right? I mean, what are you chasing? And you know that they had an ex, right? I mean, what do you want here? You want them back? So what can I do after being needy and begging? Stop being needy and begging. Number one, you can do that. If you say, well, I can't, that's a limited belief. There's something there. Let's talk about it, because don't make a fool out of yourself. Keep some dignity. Keep some pride in your life, right? Needy and begging. You're saying, what can I do after that? Stop. Stay in no contact. This person's with someone else. Your ex is with someone else, and somehow you know that they've cheated twice. You're too involved in what they're doing right now. Cut off all contact. Cut off all contact from social media and start to move on with your life and write some damn poetry if you're poetic. If someone finds value in a toxic person, that speaks volumes about them, should be a red flag. Well, the fact that you just know that they cheated, right? once someone leaves you and they're with someone else, everyone wants to attack their character or attack who they're with. The idea that you're watching from afar on another stakeout, or you're, cyber stalking through social media, or or worse yet, you're in contact with them. I've had clients, well, they told me, we talk regularly. To me, I'm like, why would you want to talk to an ex about their new relationship and you still want them back? I mean, you're just asking for pain, right? You need a new perspective. Invest in some live coaching with myself or someone else, because it doesn't have to be that way. You're stuck. You're stuck, right? And there's something there to what I just said. So why don't you feel capable of meeting someone equal or higher value right now? Is it because of the way you look? What's your insecurity that says you can't move on from this person? Why is this the only person that you need back? Wow, I'm hoping he'll screw up again and come back. Why is that what you want? Why would you want something like that, Deep Poet Society? Why is this a person that you'd want back after they've cheated on someone else and they've left you already? I've heard that before. So let me get this straight. I might be wrong on this. Is this a female with female relationship or male with female? My ex has gone back to a toxic ex of 3 years and cheated on her twice. What can I do after being needy and begging? So, your first relationship ever, you're 23 years old, and these are the ones that sting the hardest. I get it. This would be a great time to do some coaching. Seriously, and talk about, because your first relationship, if you don't heal in the correct way, you will, okay, because you wrote right here, you said my ex has gone back. So you're the male, right? My ex has gone back to a toxic ex of 3 years and cheated on her twice. So she's with a female on female, or am I getting this mixed up? What do I got wrong here? Which is completely fine, but I'm a little confused. But your first relationship, you're going to use that subconsciously as this is how relationships go. Okay? And if you don't talk to someone about it and really unpack things, that's going to haunt you throughout your 20s. That you're going to think, oh, this is how relationships go. People cheat, people leave people, this, that, and the other. And right now it sounds like you are, okay, so you just wrote that wrong. Yeah. I'm just going to say from a male's perspective, it's going to, even if you got this woman back, let's say everything goes right for you and you get her back, you're still going to be highly insecure that she's going to go back to this ex again, or she's going to cheat on you. And that just won't be a healthy relationship. So in my experience, this kind of a breakup to makeup doesn't have a very good ending. It doesn't. A lot of people, I want my ex back. The truth, most people that end up back with their ex, they end up breaking up again within a year, 2 years. Not everyone. But most of them. And in this case, even if you got them back, it would be short-lived, and they would do the same thing to you. If they've cheated twice on whoever they're with, and I don't like the fact that you know that, then you're next. That's how they operate. What people don't realize, a lot of times, you're not special. I'm not special. People treat people with a playbook. You did this, this, and this, I'll do this. They don't even know what the playbook is. It's all based on past experience. People that go back to a toxic ex, there's something else there. This is your first love. This is all you know. But you're also in an insecure place if you think that this is all you can get. Right? But I'll tell you this. You're resisting the fact, if I had to bet, deep poet, you're resisting these feelings. And resistance breeds persistence. Okay? And so you have to accept, oh, I really want them back. Accept that. Don't resist it. But here's the rub. What are you really pursuing? What do you really want from a relationship? Why are you settling to be treated this way? This is something we have to unpack in a coaching session. All right, folks, hour and 15 minutes is good for me. If it's good for you, if you want to go to writemac.com, WRITEMAC.com, send your story in. That's available. If you want to book a live coaching session with myself and fully unpack your breakup, there's a full refund if you don't find that useful and helpful moving forward. If you want to do some hypnotherapy, try something different for any limited belief or even talking about your breakup, that's also available. Full Circle Productions Media, what's up? I'm back in Cali, my friend. I'll be in contact with you, bud. I'll definitely have to come visit you up in Tahoe. I just actually had a client that's from Tahoe. Yeah, we got to get together. You got to help me with my video production. You're first on my list, bud. I hope you're doing well. And we'll be in contact. Like I said, I'm in Cali. I've been in Cali for about 3 weeks. Full Circle Productions Media's top shelf media production guy. You've been doing it 20 years plus? Shit. That's mastery right there. All right, folks. It's curtains. I'll check you all later.